Hi, hello everyone. A very good afternoon to all, and welcome to another session of Coffee DBG. There are lots and lots of new faces in here. How many of you are coming here for the very first time? Lots of them, right? Are you aware of what Coffee DBG is? Heard about it? You've heard about it, some of them, right? Let me explain to you a little bit of what this is. We all are technology lovers. We all love technology. We work in technology in different industry domains, technologies and all. But there are very few meetups which happen in the city, or I don't know, even in Kerala on a regular basis, how many meetups happen. So this is one such occasion where we technology lovers come together. We meet different people, new people, make friends, talk to each other. And this is one such occasion. And this happens every month on the very first Wednesdays. So we choose a topic, probably based on the demand from people who ask us if we can take that topic. So we find the speakers and all. So every topic will be different, unique. It'll have a difference in them. So this time we are having something related with front-end, which is first among the front-end development series. So we're hosting a series of front-end development related programs. And this is the first one among them. And this is called as Introduction to Object-Oriented JavaScript. And this will be handled by Mr. Suresh from Fermisoft Solutions. So, so again, thanks all for coming. So let's get started. The first event is Tech Bytes, where we discuss technology-related events which happened in the past month. And for that, I invite Shamir. Shamir.
Thank you, Srinath. Welcome to Coffee DBG again. I'm Shamir Amali from DBG, and it's time for Tech Bytes. As you know, Tech Bytes is a session which covers latest news and updates from the area of information technology. So today I have a few news to share with you. The first news is from Google. Google is planning to make a tablet with advanced vision capabilities. Using this tablet, you can capture 3D images of the objects and rooms. This tablet will have 2 back cameras, infrared depth sensors, and software to manipulate 3D images. Also, this will have 7-inch screen. As per the reports, Google will develop 4,000 prototypes of tablets, and it will be released in next Google I/O conference, which is scheduled on end of the June. And the next news is from Samsung. The Wall Street Journal reports that Samsung talked with many telecommunication carriers about their smartwatch. Using the smartwatch, you can make calls and send SMS from your watch itself. So you don't need to carry your mobile phone with you. And there is an update from Microsoft. Microsoft released new Outlook. They have added many features such as new way to filter and organize email, inline reply, an undo function, and improved chat with new version of Outlook. And it has very intelligent and clean UI, and it is very fast. And another useful update from a UK-based mobile phone company, OnPhone. OnPhone released a customized mobile phone for blind people. This phone has a customized Braille keypad. Using this keypad, user can make call by touching on the keypad. I think it would be very useful for them. And another update from Google. Google Chrome released new version Chrome 35 with OK Google Voice Search, which was previously added in Chrome 34 beta. After updating to Chrome 35 and configuration, go to google.com or open a new tab and say OK Google to get going. I have a demo of this. Let's watch.
Hey guys, welcome to another Game Tech Super Sham video. In this video, I'll be showing you guys how to say OK Google on your computer or laptop and search something, and it's actually really cool. And prior to this update, you could only do it on your phone or your tablet, but I'm going to be showing you how you can do it on any computer or any laptop. So first, you obviously have to get Google Chrome. It's a you get it, go ahead and click on the settings icon in the top right. Click on it and click on About Google Chrome. This should lead you to this website, and you should be at the most up-to-date version after you install. But if you're not, check it that you have version 35. And it doesn't matter about the M. The M is just something completely random. As long as you have version 35, this will work. So you can go ahead and close out of that. And what we need to do now is go to Settings again. Click on Settings, this time right above the About Google Chrome button. Click on Show Advanced Settings, and under the Privacy section, you have all these random things. You want to go down to the last check mark. Enable OK Google to start a voice search, and it's pretty self-explanatory. On your new tab page or on google.com, you can just say OK Google, and it starts a voice search. Click on it, and it says, when you say OK Google, Chrome will search for what you say next. And you can click on the check mark if you want to. If you're a little bit like privacy, you care about it, you can unclick it. It doesn't really matter. Go ahead and click OK, and it will set it up in about a minute. I'd say it was stable when it was ready and stuff. And so if you go to google.com now, at the right here, it says say OK Google. Oh no, I did it. And if you say that,
According to Wikipedia,
I don't know who that was, but if you say that, then it will just search for what you say next. For example, let's say you're doing a research project and you're like, okay Google, what is a dog?
here are the listings for Dollar General near Bono.
As you can see, it didn't really work. It's not as reliable as a phone or a tablet, but okay Google.
And the next news from eBay. eBay was hacked by unknown hackers on between end of the February and early March. They could store 145 million users' details such as email, encrypted password, and birth details, etc. So eBay requests that change your eBay password, otherwise it may affect it in future. Also, eBay recommends that if you use same password for other website or accounts, change that too. And the last updates are from Apple Worldwide Developer Conference 2014, happening on June 2 to 6 at San Francisco. Apple also new software updates at WWDC 14. OS 6 10.10 Yosemite. OS 6 10.10 for laptop and desktop computer is now called Yosemite. Update to the platform allow devices to communicate more efficiently with Apple devices. And iOS 8 is the 8th major release of the iOS mobile operating system. iCloud Drive, QuickType, HealthKit, and for developers, TestFlight, CloudKit, Metal, and Swift is announced is a on programming language called Swift, which will be replace Objective-C. Apple claims Swift is faster than Objective-C, thought it can still work alongside the language, and works with Cocoa and Cocoa Touch. That's all for this month. Thank you.
Okay, so seems like the iOS update was the most important one that happened last month. Okay, so we are moving to the next session, and actually it is about the myths and facts about JavaScript. So, how many JavaScript programmers are here? No JavaScript programmers? Okay. Okay, so how many of you have worked on object-oriented JavaScript? You wrote object-oriented JavaScript. Anyone else? So, why do you say that you had done object-oriented JavaScript? That is, have you ever used the keywords like class, extends, public, private, protected, etc.? No? But still you have done object-oriented JavaScript programming. So, that is in the initial period, that is when we were learning C programming language, that is, it was considered as a functional language because it didn't have classes. Then we learned C++, which has class, and we had learned a lot of things about object-oriented concepts like inheritance, polymorphism. Then, what are the other concepts that you learn? Inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation, etc. Right? So then we thought that, okay, classes are something that makes a programming language object-oriented. Later in PHP also, initially it was not object-oriented programming language. Later they introduced classes in PHP and made it object-oriented. But JavaScript doesn't have classes. Then how could you say that it is an object-oriented programming language?
JavaScript doesn't have classes. Yes, that is right. But this is a misconception that without classes, a programming language cannot be object-oriented. See, the way I see it is, a language is object-oriented if you can create objects for it, right? It doesn't matter if you have classes or not. So there are two different ways of creating objects. One is a normal classical method, and another one is based on prototypes, which will be explained by Suresh. So in JavaScript, what it does is it uses the prototype-based object-oriented pattern. So it doesn't have class, yes, but you can create objects with it, and everything about JavaScript is an object, and it is an object-oriented language.
Okay. So one popular myth was JavaScript is not an object-oriented programming language just because it doesn't have classes, but it is not the case. JavaScript is an object-oriented language because it handles objects, and all the properties like inheritance, encapsulation, and everything is possible using JavaScript, and Suresh will be explaining that to you. Okay. Then actually I learned JavaScript initially. I think it was in 2001. Okay, and I went for a course Java, and they gave me some textbook like Java, JavaScript, RMI, etc. So I was under assumption that JavaScript was something as part of Java, and many people who are new to JavaScript still believes that. So is there any relationship between Java and JavaScript? Why does they use the prefix Java in JavaScript? You people are telling that there is no relation. So the relationship between Java and JavaScript is just like the relationship between car and carpet. So Srinath, just tell me why actually.
There is no relationship between Java and JavaScript. We all know it. But why did the name Java came up in JavaScript? There's a little bit of story behind it. The story is JavaScript was created by Netscape, and the Netscape browser was the most popular browser at that time. There was some big competition, big browser wars happening between Internet Explorer and Netscape at that time. So what the Netscape did is Netscape wanted to make it better. So the most popular language at that time was Java, and that was with Sun. So it was a deal, sort of a deal between Sun Microsystems, which had the best programming language at that time, and sorry for that, and Netscape, which had the most user-based browser, and thus, based on that deal, this was mostly a marketing campaign to popularize this new language which was created, and it did become popular.
Okay, so the name was just for popularity.
It was
and
only
for
for
marketing.
popularity. Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
So this was another myth that Java has some relationship with JavaScript, but it doesn't. Next one, JavaScript is an inconsistent and buggy. That is, many of you are popular with this error screen, right? And so it works in, sometimes it doesn't show that error in Mozilla, and it works in some browsers and it doesn't work in some other browsers. So isn't it a buggy language? Is it? We always worry that is why it didn't work, and sometimes it works and we do not know why. Sometimes it doesn't work, still we do not know why it doesn't work.
It is not a buggy language.
Right.
It's a very good language. The language is standardized. JavaScript is a language which is standardized. It is not a buggy language.
Who standardized JavaScript? W3C? ECMA? Normally all HTML, CSS, everyone know who standardizes the web? W3C, right? So is W3C the team who standardized JavaScript? We do W3C validations, etc. Right? Is W3C the people who standardize JavaScript? Maybe, right? No? Then ECMI. So what is the story in this ECMI? That is anything related to web normally is standardized by W3C, and why doesn't JavaScript get standardized by
It is
W3C?
because W3C doesn't standardize programming languages as such. So if it's HTML, CSS, all those stuff, they are standardized by W3C. But then ECMA is the agency, as he said, which standardized JavaScript. So again, for the earlier question which you asked, JavaScript is a standardized language, but this Java, when you write your JavaScripts, you are accessing browser objects and writing it in different ways, right? Now, when you access those browser objects, the way browser interprets it by means of its rendering engine is different. The way it does for Mozilla is not the same it does for Chrome or for any other browser. It varies because of its implementation. So it's because of that this inconsistencies happen. I think Deepu can give you a very detailed explanation of how a browser renders a web page. What happens inside it.
So we have been using browsers since long, that is since we started using internet. So how many of you know how a browser architecture is? What all are the components of browser? The browser, there are a lot of browsers, right? So everything has something in common. What are they? It has a user interface, a presentation layer which we see in a browser, right? Where we type in www.google.com and then it gets, some website gets displayed there. So it has a front end, UI. Browser has a UI. Then what should be there with the browser? DOM. Okay. DOM is not, that is a component of browser. Document object is there, but this has a browser engine. Okay. UA. Then it has a rendering engine which renders the HTML code, right? Based on DOM concepts or DOM principles. Then it has a networking component that handles the request, send it to the server, get the response, and serve the browser. It has a JavaScript engine which handles the JavaScript. Then there is also a backend UI. So we can see that what actually each does. Okay, it has an interface engine, browser engine, rendering engine, network component, JavaScript interpreter, UA backend, and for data persistence, for example, cookies and something that we have to store. There is a data persistence component. Okay. So what happens when we actually type in www.google.com in a browser? What happens next? How does this website get loaded in our page? That is our need, right? So actually the request gets passed to the browser engine and then it goes to the networking component because it needs to identify the server and take the request to that server. So before that we need to identify the IP address of that server. So DNS server deals that, and that is from that domain it is converted to the IP address and it hops to the server, and in the server that is there may be a web server that is receiving that request and sending the processed output back to the requested part. So here the networking engine, network that is even a or render it properly, and we think that this is it is more strict in auditing our code. And Mozilla, it passes many of the things and it will show properly in Mozilla. That is why many things work properly in Mozilla but doesn't in IE. So there are different rendering engines. So Gecko is by Firefox, Trident is by Internet Explorer. Right now it is Chakra, right?
For Internet Explorer, it is Chakra right now.
And WebKit is the rendering engine for Safari. Billing is for Billing or Blink?
Blink.
Blink? Okay. For Chrome and Opera, which is a fork of WebKit itself. So this is the different versions of browser engine that we said, and it is different for each. And next one is JavaScript engine. We saw that there are different browser engines, then different JavaScript engines that was created by different companies, browser companies. For example, some JavaScript engines are developed in C++, some are in Java. For example, SpiderMonkey was the first one to be created, and it was a Netscape Navigator, right?
It was created by Netscape Navigator. The person who created JavaScript, Mr. We'll deal with that later.
Brendan
Yes.
H.
So Mr. Brendan created the first JavaScript interpreter. The JavaScript interpreter is also called as JavaScript engine, interpreter, everything. It's all the same stuff. So that was the first interpreter. After that, at that time, Explorer didn't have any interpreter at all, right? So then the different browsers came in, and later, slowly, a sort of a competition started creating between these browsers because they all wanted to become the fastest browser. There was big browser wars which happened.
The problem is like JavaScript engine has a very important part in the speed of the or performance of the browser. So the fastest, the browser which has the fastest JavaScript engine will be the best one available. So there was a competition.
And that is when Chrome came into picture. When Chrome came in, Chrome was the fastest. It had the fastest JavaScript engine at that time. But then different browsers started creating their own versions of it, and they were like moving ahead. For example, SpiderMonkey had another release of a just-in-time compiler called the TraceMonkey, and then it became faster. Safari implemented something called as Squirrelfish on their engine called the Nitro. That's how it became popular, and then it became faster. And everyone was doing the same thing. Chrome, what they did is, again, they did some more improvements and came up with a V8, a new version of engine which is used right now, and it was like very fast. But I think the fastest browser as of now is Mozilla Firefox. It is the fastest.
It goes on and people. Oh, he's a Mozilla volunteer. That is. Okay, so we had talked about two myths. One is it is not a buggy language, JavaScript, and second one is it is not standardized by W3C. It is standardized by ECMA, European Computer Manufacturers Association. Yeah. So next one is like where do we find JavaScript? Where do we use JavaScript? For website, right? In the client side for website. So it just serves the web. JavaScript has become the most popular language right now, and it is said like it has very vast usage, or a lot of each and every programmer, whichever programming language they are using, they used to implement some JavaScript. So if it does just serves web, how could it be so popular?
It doesn't serve just web. There are lots and lots of other places where JavaScript is used. For example, the JavaScript is used in the email client called the Thunderbird. Most of you might be using Thunderbird. It's used in managing different processes within Mozilla browser. It's used by cross-platform programming developers for programming their stuff. It's used in making widgets. There are server-side lots of JavaScript implementations which is happening right now. It's used within PDFs. It's supported by LibreOffice in lots of stuff. There are lots and lots of places where this is being used, not just.
So another misconception was like, another myth was like JavaScript just serves web, but it is not the case. So now let's see how JavaScript evolution happened. Anybody here know who is the father of JavaScript? Who is known as the father of Java? How does this get created? When did it get created? Who? Why? When? Where? For validation purposes, right? Locally. Okay. So initially in the web, that is when the first, this is the first website ever in the world, and it was done by, do you know him? Who is he? He is the father of internet. I am just talking about this part. That is, he was the first person who did the first website, and at that time, we just had a static web page. And whenever something clicks, it need to go to the server, communicate with the server, and get back if you want to go to the next page. No validations, nothing. So, somebody created JavaScript. Thought about JavaScript. Why couldn't we validate at least the user data? That is, we have a form typing something. Why should we send it to the server to know that whether it is right or wrong, whether it is a valid email ID or not? Why couldn't we handle it in the front end itself? So somebody thought about that. It was Mr. Brendanish. I pronounce it as Brendanish. He might be pronounced Mr. Brendan. Okay, let's call it as Mr. Brendan. He was an employee. He was working at Netscape Navigator, and Netscape, and even though Netscape was not the first browser, Netscape and Internet Explorer were the two most popular browsers at that time. So, saying it out, I feel. So they brought in new scripting language called JavaScript. Its name was not JavaScript. Its name was Mocha. So he developed it in 10 days time. So it was just to do some basic validations, and they incorporated it in network Netscape Navigator. Sorry. So what happened is that Netscape Navigator became more popular than Internet Explorer. And what happened is that
in May 1995 was when this was created, this language called Mocha. But this was renamed again. It was named Mocha by Mr. Mark Anderson, who created Netscape. But that name wasn't liked by people, so they renamed it again called LiveScript, and that was again renamed as JavaScript in the very same year. So it was in JavaScript.
Why did they rename it as JavaScript? Why?
So in the same year, they renamed it to JavaScript. And then in the next year, what they did is as of now, JavaScript was only used in Netscape, and that was not enough. They wanted to popularize this to other browsers as well. So they wanted a body who would standardize this, and that is when they gave this to ECMA.
Same time, that is, Internet Explorer was already came up with JavaScript, which was a copy of this, but they told that it has some extra features. But still, JavaScript was better. And I think that is they had some persuasion to Netscape to submit it for ECMA.
Yeah, there was big problem at that time. Also, IE wasn't supporting JavaScript, and it was not supporting JavaScript properly for a very long time, and that is why there were lots of problems within JavaScript, because they followed something similar to JavaScript called the JScript. And then what happened is ECMA came up with the first. They created a standard for it called ECMA 262. That is the standard for JavaScript. And then they came up with new ECMA script variations called ECMA script 2, ECMA script 3, etc., etc. And then our guy, Mr. Brendan, he joined. Brendan is the co-founder of Mozilla Corporation. He started the Mozilla Firefox Mozilla Corporation, and they joined ECMA, and they started a new work called the E4X in order to improve JavaScript big time. And then Macromedia came in.
Macromedia came in, and they developed ActionScript 3 based on ECMA standards. Okay.
At that time, again, there was problem between people, because they started a new version of JavaScript called as ECMA script 4, and there was big problem between two companies, certain companies.
Yeah. Actually, Yahoo and Microsoft were against releasing the ECMI 4, and they told
They
that
opposed it.
yeah.
They opposed it, yeah, because the features which went to ECMA 4 was different, and it was not what they wanted. So they wanted a new version called ECMA 3.1, and there was like big clashes happening between those two people, and that is when someone came into the picture.
So it is not actually he came into the picture. So that is the period where the open source contributors came to the picture, and they started giving a lot of open source contributions. Same time, do you know him? Jesse James Garrett. He is the person who coined the name Ajax. In his white paper, the white paper name was a new approach to web application in 2005 February. Actually, XML HTTP request, you know, right? So it has been it is just an API to communicate with the server. So he named it as Ajax, and it started becoming more and more popular. And starting that period, there were a lot of new things that was not JavaScript capable of doing before came into existence, and all the new JavaScript libraries came into picture.
Lots of people, I mean, that was a boom time for open source contributions as far as JavaScript was concerned. Lots of open source developers came in and started creating lots and lots of libraries, like all of this, jQuery, Dojo, MooTools, Prototype. They all came in at that time, and there were lots of development happening. And then JavaScript started becoming very, very, very popular. And then came the ECMA 5. ECMA 5 is like the standard which those two people, we talked about two people who were arguing. They came together, there was some consensus, and they came forward with the ECMA script 5 notation, and we currently have the 5.1. That is what is in use currently. So
and ECMA script is the standard that everyone follow, even the action script.
So all of this should stick to their standards if they are making new updates.
So that is a race of the planet of the JavaScript. Right now, JavaScript has become, that is previously JavaScript was like this, and right now it is like this, right? So that make you feel like this when you think about modifying JavaScript. Okay, so we should, I think Sudesh could take us to a level where we show this emotion. What is this?
Comfortable with everything. Whatever you say, you can like see and like, all right, this is where the problem is.
Okay. So let's go back. That is all for our session. We just talked about what are things that we talked today. At first, we just talked about some myths about JavaScript. Which all over the myths? First one, Java and JavaScript has no relation. It is just like car and carpet. Okay. Object-oriented JavaScript is an object-oriented programming language, even though it doesn't has class notation. Then it is not an inconsistent language. It is standardized by ECMI, and it is not by W3C. Okay. Then we spoke about browser engines. Did you get anything from this slide? That is a basic idea about how the browser engine works. What are the components that we have in browser engine? The browser network component. Network component. You will be the first person. UA component that we see. Then JavaScript engine. Rendering engine, browser engine, rendering engine, then one backend UA. Backend UA is just like all the native components, like that is checkbox, drop down, etc. It has some shell, and backend UA engine is something that handles with those things. Okay. Then we talked about the rendering engine. So rendering engine, what does it do? It collects the information and it need to be parsed, and at first it create a DOM tree. Then it creates a rendering tree with the CSS, and then it start drawing using the dimensions. Then it start painting, right? And there are different rendering engines. Anyone rendering engine name? Hmm? What is the rendering engine used in Mozilla? Right? So the tip is simply blink or blink, as Surya says, it is a fork of WebKit used in Chrome and Opera. Then we talked about the JavaScript engine, SpiderMonkey, V8, Squirrelfish, and Chakra, etc. Then another thing that we talked about is it is not just serving web. Then we went to the evolution of JS. Who is the father of internet? This is the first ever web, and Tim Berners-Lee. Then who is the father of JavaScript or Mocha? It is Brendan H. It was changed as LiveScript, and later it was renamed as JavaScript just for popularity purpose. And later it got standardized by ECMA as ECMA script. Okay, and JScript, ActionScript, JavaScript, etc. Everything is standardized based on ECMA script. And right now we have ECMA 5.1, right? And Jesse James Garrett, he coined the term Ajax, and which made web capable of doing much more things that was not possible before. Then came all the libraries, and more open source contributors came, which made JavaScript more rich, and that is the price. And in the beginning, it was something. When we look, we know that. Later, it changed in this way, and when we see JavaScript, it is like this. Okay. So who will help you in this to understand JavaScript? Only you can, because you have to get some basic understanding of the JavaScript. That is what is the object-oriented pattern. So at least you can, that is when you see a script, that is you download a script and you want to make some minor modification in that, you have to get that flow. That is what is the actual flow that is happening in this JavaScript. So the session of Suresh is mostly aimed for that. That is, it doesn't mean that he will make you JavaScript expert, object-oriented expert after this session, but at least you should be able to understand what happens there. Okay? So you can do it, and there is no questions. Bye-bye. And okay. There is no tea break. No tea. I want Suresh to come and take the session, and we will serve tea here. I think the tea is just getting ready, right? Okay. Suresh, please. This session was just intended to get some basic understanding to make our platform clear. That is, normally it is not something very big or very complex things, but we never spend our time to understand those things. Okay, once the basement is ready, we can build above that.
Hi, my name is Praveen and I'm from Club Media.
Hi, my name is Anil. I'm from Experion Technologies.
My name is Naveen. I'm from Experience Technologies.
Good evening, Alex from Kelnet. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shakir from Kelnet Communication.
My name is Faiz.
My name is Rosh. I'm from Exops Labs.
I'm Madhulal from McFadden.
My name is Suraj from Oracle Digital Artian Software Private Limited.
I'm Nathan Dominic from Atner Software.
I'm Anandan from Oracle Digital Solutions.
Hello.
I am Smita from Test House.
Me, Akhil, QA Engineer, Test House.
Hi, I am Sadish from Experian Technologies.
Hey, I'm Harina Tushar from Experian.
I'm Hemagiri from Aptara.
Hello, this is Harshad from Aptara.
Shiaz from Aptara.
I think there are more people to get into this, right?
This is Azhar from Aptara.
Actually, this Coffee DBG is intended to make friends, to understand those who are working on the similar domain, and we can share knowledge, we can ask questions. So that is whenever you get some chance, please do a networking between the people. Okay.
Hi. Good evening to all. So we had a very good introduction about JavaScript evolution and how the browser engine is working and how JavaScript engine is working, what is the functionality of rendering engine, etc. Right. So our next target is understanding object-oriented JavaScript. Nowadays, every web program is using jQuery and Bootstrap and Knockout.js, etc. A lot of third-party libraries. The reason why they are using this type of library is they are very much flexible to use, right? Very easy to use that. So what is the popularity of these type of libraries? The thing is, when they developed that type of libraries, they have followed object-oriented pattern. That is why this is very flexible, and that is why it is very popular. Okay. Let us take an example of one jQuery library. jQuery input. How many of you have used this jQuery token input library? No. Okay. So this library is working like I type some letters here. I'm getting some values. Okay. Suppose if we have a requirement to modify this behavior, not the behavior, you need to place one checkbox beginning of this result, that list. How you can do that?
We will search for a new library that has that checkbox.
Yes. Why you are search for that type of libraries?
It's just because that is when we check it, we couldn't understand anything, and then we will try to modify it, and we fail, and then we look for some other libraries having the same functionality but with a checkbox.
Okay, but I won't be like that. So in this session, we will check how we can understand these object-oriented pattern in JavaScript. Okay. Yeah, sure. See, this is the code of that token input JS library.
So it has a function but no name, and
yes.
Before function there is a bracket. Okay.
What is this usage?
You have to explain to us.
Sorry. Okay. So if you go down of this code, you can see that lot of things like this is one type of function, and this is one type of, probably you know that this type of functions, right? So we will check all these things in my section. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So in this session, I have included JavaScript object, JavaScript function, self-invoking function, what is prototype, and advanced JavaScript. The first four things just to confirm our understanding. Okay. And how we can do object-oriented programming in JavaScript, I will explain in this advanced JavaScript session. So normally you will have a question. What is object? Everybody working with other object-oriented languages. So what is an object? Any answer?
Instance of a class. JavaScript doesn't have a class. Instance of a class.
Okay. So you are telling based on classical approach, right?
Yeah.
So what is the problem of that object? Once we create an object, what is can you modify that object, or you can add any functions or method there? Is it possible once you create an object? Sorry?
Create a object in a classical approach, whether we are able to modify it later. That is, add more
If you want to
properties.
add any properties or methods, is it possible in classical based?
We cannot change that. Okay, I got that.
That is the beauty of JavaScript object. In JavaScript, objects are dynamic. Okay, once you created an object, you can modify as you like. If you want any further methods or properties, that is possible in JavaScript. Okay, there are three categories of objects in JavaScript. One is native objects, and second one is host objects, and third one is user-defined objects. Native objects are derived from base object in JavaScript, and which are string, numbers, math, etc. Okay, so this can be used like this. Then what is host object? What is the difference? This is also derived from native object. So what is the difference? Host object. Host objects actually provided by browser engine to JavaScript engine when a page is loaded. Okay, that is why we can use this document.getElementBy method to fetch an element from the HTML document. How many of you know that? Document.getElementById method. Okay. Then next one is user-defined object. User-defined objects is a copy of native objects, and we are doing some modifications to that object, like adding properties and methods to that object, and finally it will becomes a user-defined objects. Okay. Next thing is, there are two common ways how we can create objects in JavaScript. One is object literal, and second one is object constructor. Object literal is a key value pair which will be separated by comma and wrapped with a curly bracket. So first we will check one sample of that, and then we will discuss about the object constructor. Okay. And another thing is, you need to remember that I will be following a mobile class, and which will have a child class like Android and Windows. Okay. So this is the example of object literal. I have var keyword and a variable name equal to, and open a curly bracket, and this is the property, and this key value pairs separated by comma, and finally closing the curly bracket. Sorry. How is it possible? So is it okay? That's not working. Okay, so this is one of my object, and I have methods properties like model, type, IMI. And in this document dot write, what I'm doing is I'm just calling that property here, font one dot model. This notation is called, this is a dot notation, and this is the bracket notation. I will have a bracket, and I'm specifying the property name inside of that bracket. Okay, this is how we can call the properties of object which created using object literal. Okay, so this is font 1 2 is same representing same font object, and I have same properties here, and I am using dot notation and bracket notation to call this. Okay, this is clear.
Literal, right?
Object literal.
So this method is not possible in C or other languages, whether we can create an object in this way?
No.
No. Okay. So here we can create an object in this way using parentheses. That's
Yes.
a specialty.
Yeah.
And we can use that notations, dot notation and
Bracket
all.
notation.
Okay. So notation is something that is suggested to use, right?
Yes. The next one is object constructor. Object constructor, in JavaScript, functions are objects. Okay, when you call a function with a new keyword, it will serve as a constructor. Okay, we know to create an object, constructor is must in other programming language also, isn't it? So how we can create object constructor means we need to define a function and use new operator to call that function, then finally it will becomes it will create a object. We will check one sample for that. In this sample, I have defined a function like the function name, and these are the properties, model, type, IMI, and I have some default values there, and I am initializing new variable font1. Okay, and then I am printing it, and I have created another variable and just modifying that properties values here. What would be its output? Yes.
We have a function mobile. It doesn't serve any function. It has some values assigned to some variables.
Yes.
Using this. Okay. And created an object font1 using the new keyword, new mobile. So the font1 will have all these features like model, type, and IMI.
Yes, sure.
Okay, and then you printed it. Font1, that is as we created an object font1, so we can use font1 model. Font1 type also work, right?
Yes.
Okay, and font1 IMI, so it will print those things. Okay, then font2 another Android and this thing, and second one,
Okay.
iPhone will get printed.
So we'll check what would be its output. Yes.
It's simple, right? We'll got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
The thing is, we have created that objects from same class, isn't it? And I created two instances of that class, and I modified one instance class properties, but it doesn't affect to other object. Okay.
It's if you create another object from 3 using new mobile, it still has Galaxy Nexus, Android, and
still has Galaxy Nexus values.
Okay. And even if you printed that, could you please show that? At the end, just type in where phone 3 is equal to new mobile. Okay. Okay. No modifications. Then your phone 3. Okay. So it should print Nexus, Android, and that IEMI. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Okay. This is two common ways how we can create objects in JavaScript. This is clear? Yes. Yeah. Yes, it's an object. Actually, this mobile is a
constructor. It acts as a constructor.
In JavaScript, function will act as a constructor when you using new operator to call that function.
Okay, so
we will check more about that later in the session. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. The two approaches, I will explain that when I am explaining that jQuery token input, so it will be more clear about that.
Okay. So the question is about that is why do we have a method like object literal and why do we have a method like object constructor?
Yeah.
It is up to them. They just decided that way, right? You carry on and you just explain it at that time. This is a very good question. Okay, you should answer it.
Yeah.
Before you leave.
Yes, common ways. There is another method is like object.create, but it's supporting only modern browsers. So we are talking about only the common ways. And next we are going to talking about what is JavaScript functions.
Major section that we have some clarification because we had seen function name earlier, but you had shown different function without function name,
yes.
And then this is before.
Yeah.
So those things need to be clarified.
So in JavaScript, functions are objects. We can have methods, properties, and even we can store it into another variable. And as I said before, when you using new operator, this function serve as a constructor. Okay. There are two type of functions available in JavaScript. One is named functions and second one is anonymous functions. What is the difference between these two?
Function will have a name, anonymous will not have a name.
We will check that. This is the syntax of how we can define named function and anonymous functions. Okay. Named function will start with function keyword and follows function name. And this function keyword is known as function declaration. In the case of anonymous function, this is not a name, this is just a variable. And we are just assigning function to this variable. And we will check one example and we will understand what is the difference between these two. Sorry? That we,
it will be called in a different method.
this is the sample. I have a function declared here and I called this function call here and here. So whether it will work or not.
So there is one function call you made before the declaration and one function call after the declaration. First one will show an error. No, because that is in 1995 when I was doing JavaScript.
Okay.
It should work because that is we may define the functions in the end and we might be calling it in the top. So I think that is both will work.
Okay, we can check. Both worked.
Yes.
And
okay,
I'm going to run anonymous function call also. This is same code, but we have assigned that function to a variable, and same way we will call that make call and make call. Yes, definitely there. No result. What? There is one answer?
There is an error.
Yes. Why? Why it happens like that? In the case of named function, when JavaScript interpreter starting to parse the scripted content, what it will do is there is one special feature called hoisting. Because of that special feature, JavaScript engine first will check for the named functions, and if it is found, then it will move to the top of the scriptlet tag. The thing is, JavaScript engine will pause each line and executing it. So when it started to executing here, it will create an object of this function. Okay, that is why it is available before the declaration and after the declaration.
Now we know about JavaScript engines more. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So all the JavaScript engine will do that hoisting.
Yes, sure.
So that is like that is whenever it get executed, all the functions with name will be from that code. It will be taken to the top of the code, and objects will get created initially itself before rendering the remaining part.
Yes.
Okay.
But in the case of anonymous function, that was just a variable, var, make call, then function declaration. So what interpreter will do? It will pass that line only when the pointer is reached to that var is equal to make call.
Hoisting is something that make this different. That is, hoisting happens to named function, but it doesn't happen to anonymous function.
Yes, yes, correct. Okay, yes. Like this.
See, if you have two JavaScripts,
okay,
external JS files, and you have two.js having the function make call, all right? So you will have to call make call after make call has been declared. Is that correct? If you do an external JS.
You calling this external JS before this?
Yeah, just think about calling jQuery.cookie ahead of jQuery.
Okay.
Right, so there has to be a pattern, right? Where you first declare the function and then you call the function. But in this case, it's working fine. So I want to know like why.
Actually, I didn't get that point clearly.
Okay. See, when you write jQuery
Okay.
.js, you include jQuery.js first.
I just want to confirm where you are defining that jQuery link. I mean script link.
No, just take a normal head tag
Okay.
where you give jQuery.js,
Okay.
and then you give a jQuery.cookie.js, because you are extending jQuery with cookie.
Okay.
Correct. So in this case, you have to first define make call first, and then call make call. Right. So there has to be sequence.
Okay.
Correct. But in this case, even before defining make call function, you are calling a make call, and it's working perfectly fine. My question is, how does that work?
That's clear from your explanation, I think, because in jQuery and jQuery.cookie, we are seeing most of the functions are anonymous. They are not named functions. Only for named function this will. In the jQuery file, but I'm feeling that in the jQuery library file itself is an anonymous function because there is no function keyword in the beginning, the whole library. So that's the reason it doesn't execute. That from my understanding.
Actually, that's what he explained. Because of hoisting, that make call will available on the beginning of the script area. Actually, hoisting means if you declare any variable or function, you will get it on top of that declared function. That means, actually, explaining is a bit problem for me. Is it possible for like consider that you load another script to Ajax.
Okay.
You have the scriptlet where you have called make call. Assume that you use JS to load another library after that,
Okay.
probably at the end of the body. And in that, if you have some function and if you try to call, probably then it won't load because the script is not loaded yet. You don't have something called ready, right? So what a friend here is assuming is that any number of scripts that you load, will the interpreter load all the scripts? Say you load multiple scriptlets.
Okay.
Will all the functions from every scriptlet will be hoisted?
No,
Each block. Say assume that you have 5 different scriptlets.
Okay.
Script blocks. You have 5 different script blocks, and each one let us say has a couple of functions.
Okay.
Now when this page loads, will all 10 functions be hoisted, or does it happen once the entire DOM gets loaded? You getting it?
No. First, our JavaScript interpreter first will check all scriptlet tags, and it will execute all those first.
But what about loaded function? For example, his example that he mentioned was jQuery library and another jQuery extended library. 2 libraries loaded.
So whether that also gets hoisted or only something that you mentioned directly. So that is something.
The example that our friend here.
Yes.
Yeah. This is how actually the Coffee DBG should happen. It is an open interactive session. It should not be like one person coming and taking a session. It's really good. So do you have any explanation for that? So Praveen, I hope that Praveen will show us. Okay, he will try to explain.
You press this. Okay. This. Is not.
About what we discussed so far. So what are the things that we discussed? Initially, we talked about
JavaScript objects.
JavaScript objects. Is there any other questions related to JavaScript object? Everything, he told that everything in JavaScript is an object. Is it right? Okay. Then there are three types of JavaScript objects.
Native objects.
Native objects.
Host objects.
Host objects and
user-defined objects.
User-defined objects. Okay. Then
we discuss about how we can create JavaScript.
Yeah,
objects.
how we can create JavaScript objects. That is by literal, object literal, and object constructor. And right now we have defined. We are trying to differentiate between that is named function. Okay. Then we came to functions, named function and anonymous functions. Now we are and he explained about a concept called hoisting. Hoisting is something like that is JavaScript interpreter will take all the named function to the top of the code and initiate the object, and so that it will happen. That is, even if it is declared after that, we can call it before. And our friend was against that. He was telling that that should not happen. And I won the game, and he is not happy with that. So he is objecting.
Why this one? Actually, this function JavaScript can see this function. That's it. But in case of anonymous function, JavaScript can see that in next time. Actually, when it sees that make code function, they usually see that this make code variable will host to here as identified because there is no for that part. So when it sees this like make code, then
It's just like we have a question that is not fully answered, and it need to be answered by end of the day.
Yes.
No, that should be clarified. Okay, that is after that. Let him continue with the session, and you are okay with the explanation? Okay. Okay. Yeah, related to hoisting. Okay, that's fine. So if there is any questions, we can continue after the session. Status is resolved. I'm not sure that is everyone. For everyone, the status is resolved. Convincing. Okay, that's fine. Then let's continue. So it is not like everyone knows everything. That is, we are just trying. That is, people are coming forward and taking session, and we are just sharing knowledge. And if we have some questions that is not clarified, we will together search for it and identify the output. That's all.
Okay. There's a difference between function declaration and function operator, which we already discussed. Okay. So next we are going to discuss about self-invoking functions. Self-invoking functions are just functions which can call itself. Okay. This is the syntax of how we can define self-invoking functions.
We had seen this.
So this is the top of that jQuery input library, because all the static methods should be available when that library just used in the top of the HTML document.
Okay, so if we put a parenthesis just before and after the function, it will be self-invoked. That is, it need not be called anywhere, right? So whatever defined in that will automatically get executed when the page runs.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So next, the most confusing and very special feature of JavaScript, prototype. Prototype is a property of functions. I said.
So we don't need to confuse it with prototype library, right? It is different.
No, you don't think about that because all these libraries are written based on these basic patterns. So just leave all those libraries. Then how we can just understand how we can create these type of libraries. Okay. So prototype is a property of a function, and I said functions are objects. So if you create an object, there will be a default prototype.
Okay, so a prototype is a property of a function object. So it is something like that function name dot prototype. That is we can call. So the property of an object, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the use why we are using prototype? Prototype we are using to define methods for our class. Okay. And one of the specialty of the prototype is when we define a method, it will share a common memory. I mean, create once in a memory, and for all objects, it will share that memory. This is a sample of mobile class, and I have a constructor and model type variables and send SMS function. And here, I'm using prototype property to define may call function. And this is the syntax of how we can create a function using prototype.
Means it is just like you have a function initially called mobile. That is a function mobile, but this is all where mobile is equal to function that way.
Function mobile.
Function mobile, okay. Then it has model is equal to something, type is equal to something. Then there is a function inside that send SMS. Okay.
May call. And here I'm creating I'm defining this may call with the prototype property. Okay. And the difference is when you create all these objects, send SMS function. This is how we defined as anonymous functions. Just we learned. Okay. When we define a function, anonymous function, this will be created for all objects. That means when you create all these objects, it will create separate send SMS functions for each objects. And if a function defined with the prototype property, it will share for all objects font 1, font 2, font 3.
So send SMS function will be within the mobile function or outside the mobile function?
Within the mobile function.
So do we have a code to show that?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I think that will make more sense.
This is mobile class, and I have a method send SMS, and this is how we can create, make a call for this function class. And I'm creating an object and just calling make call and SMS. Okay, the difference is when you create number of objects for this class, it will share make call for each object, common memory location. If you have a number of objects, then it will create for each instance.
Mobile function has mobile is acting as a class, right?
Yes.
That is, we can consider that is in the classic method. That is, mobile is a class, and it has two functions. One is send SMS, and other is make call. So send SMS is a privileged function.
Yes.
That you may be explaining, and
yeah, sure.
A make call is also another function,
which I created with the prototype property.
Okay, and it will be a public function.
Yes.
Okay. Since we use prototype dot make call.
Okay. I will show you an example and how and I will explain how all these things will.
And we are invoking these functions. That is, we had created a object of that mobile class. Object using dot phone is equal to new mobile. Then mobile phone dot make call and phone dot
send SMS.
Send SMS. Okay. So the
Can we define it inside the mobile function itself? I mean, rather defining outside.
Which one?
Yeah, that one.
Inside of that.
Yeah. So should it always outside the
no.
function declaration?
We can create public functions inside this mobile class.
My question is that prototype dot make call can be defined inside that function mobile.
No, it's not possible.
If you want to call mobile dot prototype, it should be outside, right? This dot, yeah.
The thing is, when you
so can we create it using this dot prototype dot make call inside that function?
No, it's not possible.
It's not possible. Prototype cannot be used inside that function. Okay.
The thing is, when you creating a function when you define a function, it will internally what it will happens is it will have a constructor and a prototype property from the native objects. Okay, that means this function will act as an object and it should be available to define functions with the prototype property. I will give you a watch expression of this function in the later session, and I will explain that. So this is clear what is prototype? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I am using the same sample. I'm going to explain about a constructor. I said when we declare a function like this, it will have a constructor. Okay. How many of you know the developer tools from Chrome? Fine, right? I have created a breakpoint here. Until this time, I'm up to this line. It will just a function. That means mobile is just a function. See, this is the watch expression of that mobile function. You can see that there is a prototype property. Is it okay? Prototype property associated with that. Okay, and when you expand that prototype property, you can see that there is a constructor. It will be automatically created. Constructor, and this prototype property is from the native object. Each object will have a prototype property.
So we use that contour to see the structure of that.
Yes. When we declare a function like this, what internally happens is it will have a prototype, and that prototype actually prototype is an object. It contains a constructor and prototype of native object also. Okay. And when you create an object of this mobile class, this prototype property becomes underscore underscore proto. And JavaScript interpreter internally using this. This can be in modern browsers. This can be accessible, but other browsers are not supporting that one. And the original purpose of underscore underscore proto to JavaScript engine using that prototype property.
So I hope that many of the developers are also knowing about this underscore underscore proto, right? When I use that.
Okay, this is a very simple sample of mobile class, and I have just a function declaration. I'm going to, I have created two objects here, phone1 and phone2, and we are just watching what phone1 contains. In the previous example, we have seen that when we declare just a function, we will have a prototype property, and it will have, when you expand this prototype property, we can see that constructor and default underscore prototype. Okay, and I just created that object.